Well, Zimbabwe is compensating white farmers and it's costing millions of Zim dollars. But can the country afford this? Joseph Busha is here to explore the subject matter further. Joseph, thanks a lot for joining us on Newsnight this evening.
Good evening to you and the viewers of ENCA.
When I read the statement that from next month, start paying partial compensations to those white commercial farmers whose properties were seized during the 20-year reign of then-President Robert Mugabe, it just reminded me of this statement I was sharing with you off air when then President Robert Mugabe said to Prime Minister Tony Blair, you can keep your Britain and I will keep my Zimbabwe. But it looks as though Emerson Mnangagwa has got different ideologies in mind.
I don't think there's anything different to what he wants to achieve. What he wants to do, given the problems he is facing, and the fact that, in 2017, Zimbabweans and the world celebrated that Mugabe is gone. People who called him the dictator, he's gone, and they were happy to see he's back. Now, what he needs to do is to be able to turn the economy around, which I think he has failed, right, to do that.
Okay.
Now, he needs to be able to do some reforms, and I don't think what America is looking for in terms of reforms and the world is looking for is compensating white farmers.
So he's giving them money?
Well, where is he going to get the money? Because there's no money in Zimbabwe.
There's not even fuel.
There's no fuel in Zimbabwe. There's no food, essentials in Zimbabwe. Now, where is he going to get the money from? Our view is that he's just trying to endear the West so that he can get a little bit of financial aid and to say here are some reforms. But I think this is very misguided, and I think this is political expedience.
No, but then who is advising the president in order to compensate? Because once it's compensating and it's going to be costing millions, not even of Zim dollars. Let's move away from millions.
This is the American dollars, yeah.
American dollars.
Yeah.
It's costing millions of American dollars to actually have this kind of compensation. I understand an issue where you're compensating in the form of saying, let's have partial ownership of the land so that we can go back into productivity and economic viability where black people still have a stake in it. But now where you're going to say, thank you so much, here's money for all the troubles and for actually having land removed from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That says something about the advising and the advisory council of the very same president.
So this is very wrong. I can tell you that there's several things that are really fundamental in Zimbabwe. So there are lots of employees, black workers that were removed from the farms. Who is compensating them? They lost their income. They don't have pensions. So how is it going to compensate them? Because it can't be one. But the good thing of it is that we need to know which white farmers are being compensated and who is staying on those farms. So that might also bring us to light that who is staying on the farm. So if it is the elite, the political elite that is on the farms, they can afford to pay for themselves because they're saying they're going to pay for improvements, for equipment on the farm. But as you know, most of the people who got the luxury houses and all the equipment, the senior people within the ruling party. So we need to be able to say, why should Zimbabweans, through their taxes, carry the burden of paying and the debt we are having, for their own luxuries?
Yeah, but then one would say that, as such, do the people of Zimbabwe then not have some form of wanting to revolt against this decision has been taken, especially if it's going to be initiated from about next month? That means that they're at literally the mercy of the government and some of the policies that have been instituted, which... Do the people of Zimbabwe actually agree with this? Do they want white farmers to be compensated?
Why can't we have a referendum? Because that's what happened, number one. Number two, our hospitals don't have medicines. There's not even a glove. There's no ECG machines at one of the biggest hospitals in Harare. Now, the priorities are totally wrong because our view is that when they put in the budget, they talked about having a new parliament. They're not talking about white compensation in terms of the land. But where do we get the money when people are actually dying? We could not even save people who were, affected by the Idai cyclone in Chimanimani. So I think for me, there is no certainty in politics in Zimbabwe in terms of the government, where they want to go. And I don't believe the president himself understands what he's doing because when they were doing this, they were doing together with the former president, President Mugabe. But purely because they are power hungry and they want to endear themselves to the West, then they're saying they're going to compensate. But where's the money coming from?
So would the money money then not be coming from the very same West in which they're trying to earn some form of endearment? In other words, West, we want to compensate white farmers for having, removed them from land, within the 20 years of Robert Mugabe's reign. In order for us to do so effectively, please give us about $20 million so that we can do so effectively. In other words, get the money by actually promising. So we're trade off the compensation for money coming in from the West.
They're not going to do that. Remember the Lancaster House agreement. It says Britain was going to compensate. That was the agreement in 1979, 1980 during the negotiations after the ceasefire. Now, Britain reneged on that agreement, and that was the bond contention with former President Mugabe, that Britain, the UK, was supposed to pay the white farmers. Yeah. That was the agreement. Yeah. Now, today, they won't be able to do that because, IMF won't pay for that, America won't pay for that, because if they're doing it, they might as well pay the white farmers directly themselves. So I don't think they're going to do that, because this is what was really at the core of the issues in Zimbabwe, that Zimbabwean government saying it's not our responsibility. That is the former government. It's not our responsibility to compensate them. It was this agreement in this transition when we negotiated.
Why did Britain renege on that Lancaster agreement?
We actually don't know why there was, they reneged. Remember President Becky, he also mentioned that this was the agreement, and I think Britain needs to be able to honor that so that we compensate the white farmers. But certainly, I think they refused, and certainly they wanted to punish Zimbabwe. But they never punished President Mugabe. They never punished Mnangagwa. They're not punishing anybody in the ruling party. They're punishing the ordinary citizens of Zimbabwe.
It just wonders what the very same citizens will actually be able to say. As I said, this is going to literally be instituted from next month, trying to actually find the money to compensate the white farmers. But as you're rightly mentioning, where's that money going to come from? Who's got that money?
We need a referendum, and I think the Zimbabwean government must not take people for granted. I think that has gone for too long. Yeah. We need to be able to engage and to be fair to the people who are battling to basically just survive in Zimbabwe.
Well, Joseph, thanks a lot for joining us on Newsnight this evening, shedding some light in terms of exactly what is happening in Zimbabwe. Joseph Busha joining us from an analytical perspective, really, and going through that, announcement, really, by government that from next month they're seeking to compensate farmers in Zimbabwe. Well,